Hello and welcome back to the channel, where it's time for a special one-off first impressions video as we are taking a look at both of the Tomb Raider Remastered collections, both of which have now got physical releases on most of the modern systems, including the Switch, the Xbox One, Series X and S, PC, PlayStation 5 and the version that I'm looking at today in this video, the PlayStation 4. I will point out the video might be slightly less in depth than many of my other first impressions videos, and that's mainly because I'm taking a look at 6 games rather than the standard one, with me simply playing through the first level of each of the games spread across the 2 releases. Like always though, I will be talking about how they look, how they sound, how I think they play, how much content and lifespan I think the whole collections have to offer, and whether of course they're worth picking up and playing through from start to finish.
Survivors of these attacks so far.
So the first remastered collection includes the original Tomb Raider, Tomb Raider 2 and Tomb Raider 3, The Adventures of Lara Croft, with these games originally coming out in 1996, 1997 and 1998. The second remastered collection includes the next 3 games in the series, comprising of Tomb Raider The Last Revelation, Tomb Raider Chronicles and then the PlayStation 2 game Tomb Raider The Angel of Darkness, with these 3 games being released in 1999, 2000 and 2003. Once you load up either of the collections, you'll hit the main menu and you'll be able to cycle through the 3 games that are on either of the discs and play through any of them in any order that you like. And it's also worth mentioning that the original 3 games include all of their expansion packs as well, and these are also available to play from the start of the game. So once you hit the menus for any of the games, you'll have a few things that you can select from, but the most important one for me is going into the control options, because this is where you'll be able to choose between modern controls and the older style tank controls, with the choice drastically altering the way that the games play. You can then also check the control pad layout for each of the methods of play as well, which is crucial if you're used to playing the older Tomb Raider games with the tank controls, because it may take some time to get used to playing them with the more modern control scheme, but I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get to the gameplay of the collections. We've also got several other things that we can turn on or off or slightly alter, which is definitely an area you will want to take some time to look at before jumping into any of the games, because without a doubt different people will prefer certain settings to be set in certain ways. Like always, I'm going to start with the visuals first, and I'm going to give purely my own personal opinions on this without any reference to any other online reviews or comments on Wikipedia or anything like that at all. And the first thing that I want to say is that these collections are budget releases with a standard retail price of $29.99 here in the UK, meaning that they are basically half the price of a standard brand new release. Take into account as well that each collection is also made up of 3 games, with the visuals being completely redone for every single title across the 2 collections, with the games having their original style of visuals, but now with widescreen support and upscale to 1080p, and also the option of the more modern visual style, again in widescreen at 1080p. Please take into account though, I'm referring only to the PlayStation 4 versions of the games in this video, as I'm well aware that Nintendo Switch performance is inferior when in portable mode, and also that the Xbox Series S, Series X and PlayStation 5 versions have different performance as well. And what I'm going to say is that the games on offer within these 2 remastered collections look incredibly good for the budget releases that they are. Take into account that the games all maintain their original geometry, which does mean that the first 5 Tomb Raiders on offer here do feel somewhat square-based and mechanical in their layouts, but regardless of this, they still feel fresh and much more current gen with their new graphical styles. In regards to the 6th game, Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness, this is a slightly more modern title coming from the PlayStation 2 era, and the graphical difference between the original style visuals and the more modern style is far less noticeable. For me, the games still provide a great sense of atmosphere and mystery, with the feeling that you really are alone, particularly in the earlier games, and it remains a positive point for the games. Like I said at the start of the video, I'm not going to go into too much detail for each individual game though, as the video would completely spiral out of control, but what I will say is whether intentional or not, the games do seem to run somewhat similar to how they did on the original PlayStation many years ago when you used the old style of visuals. And one other point from simply playing the first level of each of the games is that the first remastered collection does seem slightly more polished than the second collection, with the games feeling like they've had that little bit more effort and time put into them to get them looking and performing as good as they can. Now, this doesn't mean that the second collection looks or runs poorly, but I did find them slightly glitchier overall, which means I personally feel that the first collection is actually slightly better than the second collection when it comes to looks and performance. Moving on to the sound effects and music, and when I reviewed the original game on the Saturn several years ago, I commented on how well the timing of the music and sound was used to create atmosphere and suspense in the game, and I still feel that this is present here in the remasters, even though I am by no means a Tomb Raider veteran or expert. In fact, I've only really invested a lot of time into the original first two games in the series. I still feel from playing the first levels of all of these games across the two collections that the games still sound very good to this day, certainly in regard to all of the in-game sound effects and the timing and effective use of the music to create that feeling of drama and suspense. What isn't so great perhaps is the voice acting, as it's pretty inconsistent in terms of quality, and you also have to deal with the fact that Lara has different voice actors across some of the games. I actually think what would have been quite good would have been to just completely redo all of the voice acting, maybe even just for Lara, and use the same voice actor for all of the games, because it would have given it a nice level of continuity. But unfortunately, that's not the case. You have to remember that, like I said, it was a budget release. But with all of this being said, like I always do, I will give you some samples of the music spread across the 6 games. Now, in regards to the gameplay, I imagine this is the area of the games which will probably divide opinion the most. If you're somebody who played all of these games when they originally came out, you may well find yourself playing the remasters with the original tank style controls. But of course, if you've not played them for a long time, or indeed never played them at all, then you might find that the modern style of control system will be more fitting, as it doesn't feel as clunky or dated. Whilst I personally don't think the model control style is necessarily perfectly suited to all of these games, particularly the older ones in the collection, I do believe they still function relatively well. For myself personally, the main problem that I simply have is adapting to the new control schemes, as I'm firmly rooted in the tank style controls when it comes to playing Tomb Raider games. And whilst you can simply play all of these games across the two collections with their original controls, I do genuinely feel on the whole that they do play better with the new control scheme, and I won't deny the fact that I did die many times playing the games just for the videos, because I kept mixing up the controls from the original style with the modern style, and as a result I wouldn't be pressing the action button when I'm meant to be grabbing on ledges and fall to my death time and time again. But I genuinely feel if you invest the time into it, you will adapt and you will probably take to the changes. Moving on to content and lifespan next, and both collections obviously have 3 full games on them, with the first collection having all of those games and expansion packs available to play as well. And the games were by no means incredibly short when they came out either, and they are still pretty meaty games in this day and age as well, even if you have already completed the original versions. I personally think that for the price that both collections retail at, you genuinely get a great amount of content and lifespan for your money. You really do have a load of levels to go through, loads of different environments and locations to explore, as well as all of the weapons and vehicles that Lara can utilize as well as you progress through the games. And as well, if you're a fan of the original Tomb Raider series, it's very likely that you're going to thoroughly enjoy playing through all of these 6 games once again. Now, like always, that leaves me with my final questions. Are the collections worth purchasing to add to your collection, whether that be physical or digital? And are they games that I'm actually going to play through to the finish? First of all, in regards to whether you'll actually want to purchase them, it will probably be dependent on your expectation levels. For me, these are exactly what I want from remastered older games. Not only do you get a choice of the original graphical style or a more modern presentation, but you also get the choice in regards to the controls as well. And I genuinely think this is a very good approach, and that other developers doing similar remastered games or collections could actually learn from this. Some remastered games I've played myself have definitely felt quite lazy and sometimes really not worth bothering with at all. Secondly, in regards to whether I will play through each of the 6 games fully, I picked up both collections physically with the intention of playing through all 6 of these games in order from start to finish. I also think they're well worth adding to your physical collection of games, not only because they're pretty decent collections overall, but also because the Tomb Raider series is an incredibly important part of gaming history, with the first couple of games in particular, in my opinion, bringing on the 3D action-adventure games immensely when they first saw release many years ago. With all of that being said though, I am by no means telling you that all 6 of these games are absolutely brilliant based on my first impressions. Take into account, in regards to Tomb Raiders 3 to 6, I've simply only played the first level of each game and nothing more. But based on that, I would say, without a shadow of a doubt, that the first remastered collection of the original 3 games is superior to the second remastered collection. Not just because I think more time and effort has been put into modernizing these games, but also for the fact that I genuinely know the first 3 Tomb Raider games are considered to be substantially better than the 3 that followed. Indeed, I remember reading less than flattering reviews for The Last Revelation Chronicles and Tomb Raider The Angel of Darkness, with the PS2 game being particularly criticised upon release, if I remember correctly. Even with that being said though, I still think both collections offer good value for money when you consider that you're paying around about £10 for each game, and they all offer 2 different visual style of presentations and control setups as well. So they do, in my opinion at least, feel like good value for money. But of course, how much you love the Tomb Raider series will definitely affect how you feel about this. Now, before everybody starts criticising the video for lack of depth, I am well aware that I've not really dived into any of the games specifically in this video, mainly because I've not invested enough time into each game to give you a more detailed analysis, and everything that I have said has obviously been based on me simply playing the initial parts of each game. Like always though, I want to hear everybody else's opinions on both of the Tomb Raider Remastered collections, if anyone out there has picked them up either digitally or physically, and of course which format for as well. So let me know your thoughts down below, and like always, I'll be back in the near future with another video. Goodbye for now.
Made it. No time to waste. I need to get to Carvier's apartment.